Welcome into Dragon Ball Super Dope. My name is Kyle. Thank you for checking this out. So today is just going to be a solo episode of me giving my technically initial thoughts on Daima and its finale and how it's wrapped up as a series and everything it just did in its final episode. Originally, it was going to be me and Rayshawn and maybe one or two other people, but Ray was a little tied up this weekend, so I wanted to get something out sooner rather than later this week. So solo for right now, and then at some point this week, me and Ray are going to meet up to record a conversation about some of the bigger picture stuff coming out of this series and what it means going forward, if anything, because I don't know, man, everything just seems meaningless after the last episode. I do want to go through some of the plot points here. I wrote down notes beat by beat, more or less, and but I just want to say, I think this is proven to be perhaps, it has to be, right? The most polarizing Dragon Ball series finale of all time. Like, I can't think of one worse than this, in my personal opinion. Other people absolutely loved it, and they loved what it did. They loved that Toriyama basically smashed the word canon on his way out the door. Unless you're one of those kids who thinks it's like a time ring thing from Dragon Ball Super. I don't know where the hell your brains are at. I don't think that's what it is, but regardless, we now have this new, supposedly, I guess, probably this new continuity that completely ignores Super and GT, and it's just another fucking thing that springboards off of the Buu finale. And yeah, that seems to be a fun launching point for a new series of Dragon Ball. But let's go through the beat by beat piece of it. Finale that was called Maximum. Episode 20 came out the day before Toriyama's 1 year anniversary. Rip Toriyama, we miss you every day, buddy. Even though I feel certain ways about you after this episode, respectfully. Let's see. So I wrote Goma versus Goku. The Kamehameha breaks the shield between worlds in Goma's stomach. Yeah, let me amend that. I'm not actually sure that he broke the shield, but he definitely broke like layers between the first, second, and third demon realms, in addition to, you know, the big hole in Goma's thorax. The Super Saiyan 4 fight overall, I don't know. It was beautiful. It was cool. Like, that chonky wrist thing is very much on purpose, and it is a choice. Not my favorite choice, but I understand wanting to lean more into the ape-like aesthetic. So I get it. But the Super Saiyan 4 fight just felt like more Super Saiyan 4 fight that I've already seen, except he's bigger now. I don't know. It was fine. It was fun. But it didn't feel like it brought anything different outside of the fact that he's bigger now. And it is like a considerable chunk of the first part of the episode. It's probably like a good 5-6 minute sequence. Very cool looking. That Kamehameha was amazing. But it is all for naught because all it does is put a big fucking hole through his stomach. And then Piccolo jumps out from behind the rocks, and he's going to punch Goma in the back of the head 3 times. But he doesn't punch him. Well, he hits him twice, right? Once with a kick, once with like an elbow. And then he is smacked the fuck down before he's able to get that third shot in. And at which point, they finally utilize like this weird design of the stage that they're fighting on. The Tertian Oculus, that shouldn't have been that hard to say. It revives Goma, and he doesn't have a hole in him anymore, but it actually like activates all those big purple pillars that are like hanging up and over the area of the stage, and it like fills them with lightning. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Interesting. I was wondering why it looked like a fucking arena this whole time. And it turns out because he could do cool stuff like that, I guess, except he held it till now. There is also this really weird moment when he does that lightning thing, wherein the screen does like a circle, not fade, but like a circle cut, a zoom out, and you see King Cotton real quick, and you see Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and the screen's effectively blacked out by a little gold ring. And in that moment, I'm like, yo, did he just like erase the universe? What the fuck happened just now? What a weird shot that was. And I feel like that was the first-ish sort of level of like misdirection, or just another reminder of how much misdirection overall has gone on throughout this series. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that. Subversion seems to be the name of the game with this episode in this series overall. And I don't know, pieces of that are funny. Other pieces of it, I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Why you do it like that? Arinzu tells Ku to go get the book because maybe there's another way to get the Tertian Oculus out of there. And Ku just beats the shit out of Goma in the back of the head with the book. And oh my God, you guys ever been hit with a fucking book? Like the spine of a real thick hardcover book? That shit fucking hurts. All right, never mind when you're getting blindsided from behind by like this, Majin Ku. I don't know, he's not a Majin Buu, is he? But pretty powerful. He's pretty fast. That book was pretty fucking big. Must have hurt like a motherfucker. So the eye pops out after he assaults him with that big ass book. Glorio just gives the eye a nice little squish like a grape. And crisis averted. Goma shrinks back down to a normal size. And this is like, this is one of the other funny parts where I felt like a little bit of a fourth wall break because everyone's just like looking at Ku now that the Tertian Oculus has been squished and Goma's like a little tiny thing again. Everyone just stares at him like you'd think it'd be like, great job, Ku, wow, you're the best. Well, they just all stare at him for a second. And he's like, what? Why can't I finish things? And I'm like, yeah, why can't you finish things? All your friends are mad judgmental pricks, man. I mean, I guess they're really not your friends yet, but you know what I'm saying. So now it comes time to determine who's going to be the next Demon King now that Goma has been defeated. I feel like I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but either way, Arinzu is the first nominated by her brother, Nahare. Why don't you do it, big sister? I sense that there's some good in you still, all that stuff. She won't do it, and Neva comes up with the rule, seemingly on the spot. Again, Toriyama Avatar. Like, oh yeah, that's right. The rule is the guy who beat the last guy is the new guy. Which I actually think they referenced earlier in the series, but technically that's Ku. And that's cool with me. I do like his first matter of business is to give himself a very royal looking cape. That's priorities right there, man. If you're going to, accidentally fail upwards into a role like that, at a bare minimum, you have to at least like make the attempt to dress for the role. So he did, and he got that cape, and that cape was good looking. And immediately he's like, we got to appoint our cabinet. Vice President, Demon King Arinzu. And then there's several different advisors and ministers and things like that. I think it's hilarious because he's like the guy he's like Michael Scott in that episode where he's like, you remember he's like, Ryan, go to my mom's house, break in through the bottom window. There should be a VHS tape labeled blah, blah, blah. And it's him on that television show where he's like, I want to have 1 million kids so I have 1 million friends and nobody can say no to being my friend. That's the energy that this scene gives off with Ku. Everyone's his fucking best bud, his minister. He's just like, who wants a job? Y'all want a job? And he does it. I don't know. I just thought it was really hilarious. He appoints all his buddies. Oh, Marba. I'm wondering what the fuck happened to Marba, man. Marba shows up and she's like, hey, what's up, Goma? You just committed these crimes, so you're going to go to jail for 100 years. Then he's like, but I didn't kill Dende, so they give him 99 years. And they trap him in the same bottle as Degasu, so now they're going to be living in a Mafuba-like jar for the next 100 years. Somebody in the Discord, I can't remember who, maybe Dallas, maybe Reese, definitely pointed out the similarities to how they whipped them up like the evil containment wave with the Mafuba. And I certainly had the same exact thought process. Looking at it, although I will say Demon World Hell or Demon World Jail, I should say, seems way cooler than the inside of a fucking rice cooker. So, rice cooker? Yeah, I think. So anyway, Marba, yeah, that's what she's up to. Rinzu is Vice Demon King. Yeah, this is what I wanted. Everyone else is his ministers. Majin Du, Kaden, Marba, Neva, Glorio. Anyone else want to be a minister? And there's this really fucking funny shot of it, just like Goku. And you see like a close up on his face, and he just puts his hand up for like 2.5 seconds. And for a second, I was like, oh my God, is Goku going to be a minister to the fucking Demon King? And he's like, nah, I gotta go. oh shit, bro. And then Hibis is left high and dry, supposedly, saying like, I want to do it. I want to do it. Me, pick me, pick me. And I wonder if he picked him. So yeah, that's the agreement. Majin Ku and his ministers, they're going to work to make the demon world a scary yet good place to live. Also, Ponzi, Ponshi, she gives Bulma a bunch of that material, Magite. I'm not sure how you're supposed to say it, but she gives her a bunch of that glowy rock stuff that she's going to be able to build cool spaceships out of now, maybe, or something. Gives her like a bunch. And then we get the Goku and Vegeta catch up. Vegeta is insistent that he could have won. And he's like, what the fuck was up with that transformation, though? And this is like the first, mostly, real break, right? Because all of us have thought this is going to somehow tie into the super canon, or we get a memory wipe, or it was all a dream, used to be Word Up Magazine, all that shit, right? All the things that we've all been theorizing. And this is the first one where I was like, oh, okay. This actually breaks the canon. Like, this is not a Demon World exclusive thing. But then it goes a step further for me, where I'm like, I said it a few episodes back, like, everything that this series has borrowed from Dragon Ball GT, somehow, outside of like the general premise, again, the three, archetypes going on the adventure, Glorio, Pansy, and Goku, everyone being little kids, outside of like that obvious shit. I mean, specifically things like Super Saiyan 4. It just does it so much worse than Dragon Ball GT did it. Daima is, I think that's the best example I can think of from Daima. There's a couple of other very minor ones that have very similar plot points to specific episodes of Dragon Ball GT, early ones, where I'm just like, why did we even do this? This wasn't cool in GT. Thinking about that fucking giant schoolboy and all that shit. Which, I don't want to see dropped plot thread, but Christ, in retrospect, I feel like the most fillerish of episodes. All to say, Super Saiyan 4 was already being disrespected by Daima. Now with this Vegeta and Goku exchange, it's even further disrespect. Because Goku's like, oh, you mean Super Saiyan 4? Yeah, fighting with Boo was pretty crazy. So, that was only like a couple of months ago, presumably. So I just been training real hard, and I did that. I learned how to do that. Off screen. With secret training that nobody knew that I was doing. I mean, he's always training, so like, whatever, there. But you're going to tell me the first time dude achieved Super Saiyan 4 wasn't that hack job of a never fucking activating his power. It was off screen, and he knew that he could do it and was holding on to that from all of us. Like, my God. It's just disrespectful to the beautiful fucking transformation that is Super Saiyan 4. Like, I shit on GT a lot, bro, but the way that you get the Super Saiyan 4 in that show, even if it does incorporate a literal ass pull with a big ass pair of tweezers pulling his tail out from his ass, it's just kind of, I don't know, man. It just feels so much more demeaned. Like, I could have dealt with it, never activated it. It's a demon realm thing or whatever. But apparently never just, I don't know, healed him. And that gave him the energy to be able to tap into his final fucking Super Saiyan form. Or I should say latest Super Saiyan form. I was not a big fan of that reveal. It was actually quite disappointing in my opinion. And not to say that it's because it breaks canon with Dragon Ball Super, because that it definitely does now, right? Like, that's the first like concrete example of, oh, so why didn't you do it versus Beerus? Tell you why. This is a different continuity, bro. We've been calling it will align the entire time, and this is the very first solid indicator that it is not going to align. Also, we get the very funny Ultra Vegeta 1 joke, which I'm sure I'm not going to have to hear about for the next however fucking long I live, because haha, Vegeta made an Ultra Vegeta Super Saiyan transformation joke. Then we get a very interesting scene that could potentially break canon in the future, depending on how this plays out, but I just thought it was an interesting request, an interesting set of circumstances. It's when Neva goes to Dende and Piccolo. He basically says, hey, would you guys want to stay here? Then he's like, yo, I got this place back home called Earth. I'm the Guardian. Piccolo's like, yeah, I'm kind of like busy training and shit, so peace. And then they basically make the agreement that they will ask the remaining Namekians on that planet that were, relocated there after Frieza, after the Frieza saga, right? They'll ask if they want to come back down to the Demon Realm. Which, imagine if they all said yes. That'd be cool as fuck. But then they wouldn't be there for the moral arc when we have to use the Namekian Dragon Balls. So I do wonder. I mean, that's like a very intentionally left open thing, I feel. And we'll talk about the potential for a season 2 or a follow-up on this storyline soon, but I don't know. I just thought it was an interesting thing to leave out there dangling, especially when we know that Planet Namek doesn't really play a huge role in Dragon Ball Super, but it does, and the moral arc, and that could potentially shift the continuity as well. So the tunnel is open. Yeah, that's right. No more crazy energy glass. The airs are flowing. Pansy is going to take them back, I guess, to warp, and then they're going to be able to go home. King Cotton thanks Goku, and they do a big wave as they fly off. We get the credits. And then the credits have some interesting shots throughout them. I wrote down what each of them were the second time I watched it. The first one is the Tamagami's doing shit. I forget what the shit was, but you see a couple of those Tamagami's just, they're doing their thing. We do see Roshi aged up, and he's like, rubbing his face in the mirror or whatever. We see Krillin 18, Mr. Satan, Boo, and Yamcha aged up. We see an adorable ass shot of Chi-Chi doing dishes, and now she was on like a step stool, and now she's an adult again, so she's like on this step stool looking all confused. Adorable as fuck. We do get confirmed adult Popo has horns as well. He just wears a turban to hide them. Let your freak flag fly, dude. Don't fucking keep putting that turban on. Let the horns out. And then we see dudes in prison. Dudes in prison? The dudes at Goma and Degasu. I don't know why I just wrote dudes. We see Goten and Trunks on a skateboard. The dudes, though, in prison, they're like playing PlayStation and shit. Like, they seem to be doing fine. Now, the real jail, the real hell in that arrangement is that they have to spend all their time together. And those two are equally as fucking annoying. Like, they're very annoying people. So, see you guys in 99 years. Playing cards and shit, fucking PlayStation. And then we get the post-credit scene, which I'm not really sure. This almost feels like what I just said with the Planet Namek thing. Like, it just feels like a weird thing to have left hanging out there. I can kind of see them trying to make a joke with it, but the scene generally is, they're flying back to go back to Earth, to warp, or wherever they're going to go. I think it's weird that we didn't see that, by the way. And they're like, hey, can we stop at that shop with the Medibugs? Because we're low on Senzu on Earth. First of all, why are you low on Senzu? What's Korin up to? You guys Yajirobe that fat fuck eating them in the middle of the night? Like, what the fuck do you mean you're low on Senzu, and why? Why do you even need Senzu right now? But we have to go get some more Medibugs. And in my brain, I'm like, ooh, finally, they're going to talk about these fusion bugs a little bit more, because who gives a fuck about Medibugs, dog? Let's be real. They're not even as effective as Senzu beans. So I figured they were going to talk about the fusion bugs. Nope, not one motherfucking mention of those things. It's like they didn't even buy them there. But they walk back into the shop. The old woman recognizes them as the kids from a few days before. They go and buy the Medibugs. Bulma has her, I want to be young for forever thing. So she buys all the bugs that de-age her skin 10 years. Like, the most common Bulma trope at this point. It's almost like, come on, we know she's getting older, but she's Bulma. She's more than this. She's not so one-dimensional. And then they're like digging around on the back shelf, and they find a dirty, dusty old jar of Tertian Oculus. Just like two hanging out in there. And they're like, yo, OGG, old man, old woman. What's up with these eyes? She's like, oh yeah, they're weird. They don't really sell. I sold one a long time ago. They're kind of dangerous, and they're just like, oh, like that fucking big surprise. Oh my god, like, and that's it. And that's it. You find out that there's 2 more tertiary and Oculus, which, by the way, if you want to get rid of, just put them under your shoe. Glorio did it 15 fucking minutes ago. That thing went squish like a grape, which I feel like most eyeballs would, by the way. Just a solo eyeball out rolling around on the ground. Tertiary and Oculus or not, you step on that shit. I think you're good. So why leave this hanging out there? That there's 2 more tertiary and Oculus, especially when I just said you can get rid of them in an instant. Why go back to that shop in the first place? Was it just to set up the joke of like, we just fought a guy with the tertiary and Oculus and we almost all died doing it, and we could have just had a tertiary and Oculus if we looked at the dirty, dusty fucking jar in the back fucking rack of this shop we were in 2 days ago? Is that the joke? Is that the whole fucking thing that they just did with that setup? Because if so, you went a long fucking way for very little yield, man. I don't think that joke, I see the joke, but it's just not a very funny joke, and there was a lot of setup to get there, and it's the post-credit scene. I don't know, and that's the end of Dragon Ball Daima, and presumably Dragon Ball anime for the foreseeable future. It was a fun series. Visually, it's probably the most beautiful Dragon Ball series beginning to end, it being a limited product. I do think that this series is a great test run for Dragon Ball being a seasonal anime. Bring back Dragon Ball Super. Give me the Moro arc. Turn it into 2 seasons over the course of 2 years. 22 episodes each. 44 episodes-ish. That's like a short Dragon Ball Z arc. That's like a long Dragon Ball Super arc. But if you have all quality shit going on while you do it, quality animation is mostly what I'm talking about. If you give it that kind of care and attention, like you did with this series, Dragon Ball could continue to be one of the top animes, in the fucking, I mean, it will remain up there regardless, but like it could return to its dominance. Because that was the weakness of Dragon Ball Super. It was great to have an episode every single Sunday, week after week, 52 weeks a year, more or less. 52 weeks, yeah, I said that properly. But like, I would have traded in those 52 weeks for 22 balls to the wall, beautiful, action-packed, no filler bullshit that stays true to the manga. Although, they didn't have a manga when they were doing Super, so the point is kind of moot. But I think this was a great test run for Dragon Ball working as a seasonal anime. And I do hope that they move in that direction if and when they choose to bring back Dragon Ball Super. There were a few other things. Actually, what was really nice was that I started to make a list, and then I looked in the Discord, and the boys in the Discord, they have been real active the last few days talking about this episode. If you're not in the Discord, there's a link in the show notes to go join. Just come hang out and talk shit with us. But I started to make this list, and then I had to stop reading it because it was like 50 fucking some messages. I was like, I can't. My eyes barely work right now. Never mind reading. But Chris Brecky, shout out Brecky, he made a little list for me. So he said, I don't think it'll tie in with Super. Way too many plot holes and inconsistencies for both. Correct. Even more than Super leading into GT. Last port's a little. But these are the things that he wrote down where there are now continuity breaks between Daima and Super. The first one is Kaioshin and Kibito are still infused. Tara has been retconned back to the original manga. Great point. I forgot all about that. Goku can use Super Saiyan 4 at will, but doesn't use it ever again. Vegeta can use Super Saiyan 3, but never uses it again. Bulma has called Kaioshin Nahare for the rest of the series after finding out his name, but Super, she goes back to Kaioshin. All wonderful points. And then I'll just read the last two just for sake of, completing his thought. Like, if they're the same canon, if they're in the same canon, that's whatever for me. I'm not one who takes canon too seriously, but it also wouldn't surprise me if Dragon Ball is finally doing what other franchises do and experiment with multiple continuities. Yeah, maybe. I think when you say something like multiple continuities, people's minds automatically go to some kind of multiversal crossover like we saw in the Spider-Man movies recently. Chris is also a huge Spider-Man head, so maybe that's where his brain was at. Like, I mean, to be fair, they've kind of done that a little bit with Super Dragon Ball Heroes, haven't they? Having Super Goku crossover with GT Goku, the Xeno Goku, whatever they call him. It's not unprecedented, but I don't know. I think I look at it more in the way of like, there's like a definitive jumping off point or a springboard, and that it seems to be, the after Boo, the peacetime that presumably happens after Boo, and all these weird little stories jump off from there. Whether it be Super, whether it be Daima, whether it flash forward 10 years and it's GT. I don't know. It's just like their own little continuities, but I don't know if they're ever going to be like crossing over in universes in the main story. But that's the thing. What even is the fucking main story anymore, man? Nobody knows. I don't know. Do you know? And if you think you know, you don't. You could have an idea, but none of us really know. And a part of me thinks that is frustrating when you consider how much marketing hype is put around the fact that Toriyama is involved in everything since 2013, and they put his name on everything, even some of the video game shit. Oh, Banyu and whatever fucking video game is the sixth member of the Ginyu Force. She had a day off that day on Namek, Well, Toriyama made her, so she's canon. It's like Android 21, same deal. It's like, why would you have leaned into that so goddamn heavily? And just for him to come in and smack it all out of our hands and say, get that canon out of my face. I don't know. It's, maybe that was his, I talked last episode about like the final things that he's given us. Piccolo relevance, Gohan's the strongest, all that, so on and so forth, bullshit. Super Saiyan 4th canon, quote unquote canon. He gave us all that, but then his final gift to us, but mostly for himself on his way out the doors, he walked out the door with the double birds up, saying, fuck your canon. All of it is meaningless, and I'm just telling stories, man. Make of them what you will, fit them in wherever you got to fit them in for your stupid little bird brain. I'm Akira Toriyama. I got the Chad alpha brain. You're welcome. Thank you and good night. 40 years, hard at work. Now I rest. I don't know. I feel like that might have been a very intentional choice, was to smash the canon on his way out and say, none of this fucking matters. Which, is like I said, kind of frustrating, but also kind of beautiful at the same time. So I've gone back and forth on my feelings about that overall. I don't think the finale was, very good. I'll definitely rank it last amongst all Dragon Ball series finales. OG, Z, GT, Super, Daima. Daima easily has the weakest ending. And I saw some people say the exact opposite and said it was the greatest thing and it was beautiful and they got all emotional and teared up, and like, I'm glad you had that experience. I personally did not have that experience. And I think after I watched it, because I had to watch it at like, 12:30 on fucking Friday, couldn't get anything spoiled for me. After I watched it, I literally had a headache. Just like overthinking, like taxing the shit out of my brain, my stupid little baby brain, to be like, this is what? Huh? You're doing this? This is a choice. I don't know if I agree with the choice. But again, I respect the dude's ability to make the choice. And I also sort of like agree with what he's trying to say from his own perspective as the creative, not as the fan consuming it, because he's never been a fan consuming it. And he's never been never been super mindful of the fans consuming it until, the last, not 12 calendar months, because it's been a year now since he died. But in his last 12 calendar months of creating Dragon Ball content and Sandland content, he did seem to give people what they wanted. And I think that is, or I should say, give people what they wanted, but also gave himself what they wanted, disregarding the constraints of canon. Wow, that was a lot of thoughts. That's more or less how I feel about the episode. Now, there are a couple other big picture things that I just wanted to touch on real quick. Was it a good ending, writing-wise? I don't think so. And it's not even because of like the dropped plot threads throughout. Although I do want to just clarify something. Everyone who's really upset that we didn't get a big time three-way fusion in this series, hey man, I'm with you. However, I wouldn't consider the fusion bugs a dropped plot thread. I would consider them a red herring. And I think I said it last episode. it was a red herring for Super Saiyan 4. Like, you went in expecting this cool new three-way fusion between Goku, Vegeta, maybe Nahare, maybe Piccolo. Could have been anything. And maybe Glorio. And yeah, ultimately they drop it out, and then he's like, yeah, never mind, I've been holding this in my back pocket the whole time. Super Saiyan 4. And it was just to throw us off the trail of that, I think. I did want to say, I guess, more from a writing perspective, right? Goku and the gang all go there, right? And they fight and they get through a lot of shit. But Ku's the one who ultimately wins. And that's funny and that's unexpected. And I'm here for the giggles. But like, what if they just figured it out all in-house and they never went to the fucking planet to get Goku and Vegeta? What if they just went to a Rinzu, made that Majin Do and Ku shit happen, and they just like figured it out by themselves? And that makes me wonder, like, is Goku necessary to be in this story at all? Obviously, we're here for it. That's what we're here for, to watch Goku. But I could see this story playing out without Goku and Ko very easily. And that makes me wonder, like, if their association with it or lack of association ultimately with, like, not only like the beginning of the problem, but also the end of the problem with Ku knocking him out with the stupid fucking book. I don't know. I'm probably reaching a little bit on that one. I think the biggest question I've seen over the last couple of days is this post-credit scene. Does this mean that we get a second season? I don't know. Probably not. I imagine probably not. I say that though, and I could imagine, a world where later this year they're like, Dragon Ball Daima season 2 coming, March, let's say 2026, in a year. Yeah, I maybe later than that, but you know what I'm saying. I could just as easily see a season 2 happening as I could just as easily see one not happening, and this just being its own 20 episode self-contained thing. But I think some people get the season 2 question from two places. One is that weird post-credit scene. They're not out of the demon world yet. There's more Tertiary and Oculus left. And again, I think that's just a joke. But the fact that they're not out of the demon world yet, that's a little bizarre to me. Everyone else on Earth has been returned to normal. And Goku's still fucking dicking around at the goddamn Medibug store. But also the fact that the continuity does not line up to what we know of where Super begins. So they still got to fix that, right? I think a lot of people are still holding out hope for that canon thing. And maybe it does tie into Super properly. If they give it another 20 episodes, they could figure it out. Tell you, it did feel a little rushed at the end there, didn't it? Not only like a little rushed, but like also a little hollow at points. Because it's like some of those action sequences were so beautiful and so big, but they were also so long, big, wide chunks of the episode. Very little narrative elapses. It's mostly just big fucking punchy punch. Which is par for the course with Dragon Ball, duh. But in a limited series with a couple other things that you could have addressed or tried to work in, or I don't know, it did feel a little rushed. But yeah, what are the last few things I wrote? What is canon? Akira Toriyama writing Daima. Quote unquote, what is canon? Did he just GT the super continuity? That's another question I think a lot of people have. Yeah, does super not exist now? Again, I think we have to look at them all as separate continuities. I do wonder if Super's over with Dragon Ball Super Superhero. And by that I mean like the manga retelling of it. I do wonder if that's over. I don't know. They could continue to go down that route if Toritaro finally gets the fucking reins handed over to him, but it also wouldn't shock me if they were like, all right, the old man's out of our hair. Now we can fucking play with all the toys in the toy chest, and we're going to make our own new series and launch it off of Daima or whatever. Like, imagine if they do a Daima season 2 and it's dealing with those two fucking cockheads from the Xenoverse games. What are the names? Mira and Toa. And we get more Demon Realm lore built off of that shit. Like, maybe now, Ku and everything is on their radar, and they're like, who the fuck put this Ku idiot in charge? And it's like, oh, Son Goku. I don't know. It would be a cool way to continue to tie things in together. But my point is, the super continuity really may be done. I hope not. Do I not? No, because I want to see Black Frieza. Yeah, duh. I hope not. I gotta fucking see Black Frieza, dude. So, I don't know. I didn't hate it, but it's definitely not my favorite one. And by not my favorite one, I mean it's my least favorite one of the 5 finale series endings episodes. I say that, and one of my favorite pieces of music from Dragon Ball GT just came on in my ears from the finale episode Until We Meet Again. Damn. Good timing on that. I guess, if you enjoyed it, good. I'm happy for you. I wish I enjoyed it as much as you did. However, I'm a bit of a hating ass bitch. And I don't know. Even the things that they intentionally chose not to connect to Super's canon, when you look at the why, or like you look at the reasoning, or you look at like what they say in the writing, it's like, that's, seriously, I felt like personally fucking assaulted. With like malicious intent when he's like, yeah, I got it after I fought Majin Buu. I trained a little bit. Like, bitch, you did what? After you fought Majin Buu, you trained for a couple months. You didn't have no tail. You didn't have no fucking big ass Blutz waves, blue moon, fucking giving power ass shit going on. You just trained real hard and you turned into a big fucking red monkey one day with a tail. Lost your shirt. You didn't tell anybody about it. If I did that shit, I would have called Vegeta right away and said like, hey dude, come over. I'm going to teach you a thing. But no, kept that shit to himself. Think about how much time elapses in Dragon Ball GT from the end of Buu to when he finally gets Super Saiyan 4. At least like a decade, right? Because of all the Oob training. And then he has that very specific set of circumstances be able to set it off. The blue full, the Earth working as the blue full moon and the tail and turned into the Azoru and then shrinks down to Super Saiyan. Like, that was crazy, bro. That's a multiple episode step transformation. Daimon's just like never wakes it up out of him. And then he's like, actually, I could have done that the whole time. I just didn't want to show it off. So yeah, I figured it out how to do it last month. I felt personally insulted by that. But let me know your thoughts. Spotify comments are there. YouTube comments are there. If you're listening on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcast, please subscribe, follow, whatever the hell. Leave a rating. That always helps. We do another episode with Rayshawn at a certain point this week. Maybe Josh or a couple other people we can get together just to talk about their final thoughts and impressions of Daima as a series. Hopefully they're more positive than mine. I don't know. It was a very fun series, but like it very much felt like a Dragon Ball Super arc in that it started in a very fun, promising place, and they really didn't know what the fuck to do at the end. So they just hit the dude with the book. Stepped on his fucking eye with a boot. Yeah, I appreciate you listening, and I will see you next time. It's super dope. Da, 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 da.